Welcome back guys, Strafe here, and it's time for June, which is a very exciting month for the city of Final Fantasy Opera Omni. A lot of strong characters. It's going to be post Arciela period, which marks the time where chaos gets crazy, but also our characters get crazy at the same time. And starting it off, we have Lena and Cypher. And Lena is going to be a strong support unit. The only big change with her EX Plus is she now grants a party Max Brave Overflow, and all of her numbers are higher. She does get a new HP Plus with her kit. And with Cypher, he becomes a very strong range damage dealer. This guy can now stop brave damage for your team for 1 turn. So it doesn't matter how high the boss stats are, they're going to be doing 0 damage for that 1 turn. And it's on a 2 ability recast charge. So you use 2 abilities and then the EX is back up. And you do have to keep that rotation if you do want to maintain that debuff. Only problem I found with his kit is he doesn't have a free ability in his rotation. So it may be tough to keep that up throughout the entire chaos fight, but he dishes out a lot of damage and his EX is 2 brave and HP dumps. This guy's gonna be a monster. If you do need strong damage and also some other utility, definitely pick him up. Prompto becomes pretty decent. He gets more brave dumps, he gets a longer evasion and longer taunt. It becomes 2 turns instead of 1 now, and it also dumps bravery after you use it. And the guy has attack max brave aura from before, so he has a decent kit. His partner is going to be Freya, who becomes pretty decent, and the main gimmick with her kit is she brings less stand for your entire party now on an aura buff. So she's pretty decent, and also her attack aura is now improved further with her EX Plus. So she brings a lot of good things. Dishes out pretty good damage as well. She brings attack max brave aura, she also brings HP healing and brave battery, and now she has the less stand aura. Freya is going to be a good choice for a support unit. Alright, the unit that everybody's waiting for this month is Arciela, and she's the one that I would definitely recommend to go for as priority in terms of if you guys have limited resources and you can only purple like 1 unit per month, this would be the one that I recommend. She brings a lot to your team, she covers many roles. She has HP silence just like Kefka. She has dispelling on the enemy, she has high burst healing. She has brave battery, she also packs good damage, and she also has attack max brave aura, I brave aura, and brave regen. She brings so much to your team. I would definitely pick her up, and she's going to be a vital unit for a long time. Even usable sometimes in current day JP, some Lufenia, but definitely she's fallen off by now in terms of other support units. But she's a powerhouse for a long time. You guys were aware about Ultimecia. Super meta, still viable. That's going to be the same thing with Arciela. Her partner is Prish. She does get a major improvement, but her main gimmick is just damage and no other utility for your party really. Her damage is also on the average side. I wouldn't say it's like super high level or super meta or anything like that. I would only go for her if she's your favorite unit. Definitely a lot of the other damage dealers this month are going to be packing more power than she will be. Alright, moving on, we have the special dungeon quests, and this is going to bring Cyan and Fusion EX Plus. Now, for those unaware, you might think they're bad units, but no, these EX Plus changes in the reworks make them into monsters. Fusion especially brings a lot of utility to the party. She has the win, enchant, and imperil on all the enemies, and it's going to be up all the time. Unlike Lulu, for instance, that has to rely on limited uses of the skill 1. Fusion also does launches on her EX and also batteries a party at the same time. So the target is launched, but then it sets up the other enemies to be launchable as well. So she's a great pairing for another unit coming out that I'll talk about. Cyan, he gets party cleansing just like Yuna, and he also dispels 3 buffs from the enemies with his EX cast. It's on a conditional ability where you have to be over 80% HP to have that triggerable condition. But he brings good damage and he ignores defense on all of his skills. So this guy is pretty good. The only thing I would say is that the slow recast is not really reliable for the dispelling role. And dispelling 3 buffs isn't quite enough to make him a main dispeller, I would say. But these units do become very powerful. Alphino becomes a beast with EX Plus, and I would say one of the strongest supports that we've ever had. His EX ability is a free turn, just like Papalymo. Also dishes out a lot of damage. It buffs his HP ability into a very strong form, very strong potencies. It does splash damage, and you'll see it in some videos, but this guy can just dish out the damage, and he also brings high attack auras, 85% attack aura, which is equivalent to Rosa. So not only he buffs attack max brave aura, he also does out a lot of damage, and he also heals your party a decent amount. The only thing I would say he's kind of lacking in is brave battery or brave regen for your team. Those aren't really present in his kit, but other than that, he's very strong, well-rounded support unit. The only thing you have to watch out for him is to not get broken when you have the black carbuncle out. His Brave Plus does dump bravery, and then you get a 30% refund, but if the boss has strong single target attacks, or they're just focusing you with, they have high defense and you can't really do much damage, then you may still get broken. But this guy has so much longevity where you can just pop 2 of his skill 1s, for example, and just get Black Carbuncle back up and running. So I give him very, very strong rating this month. His partner's going to be Yida, and she becomes a very strong damage dealer. Her EX is up very fast, should be around 1 ability use, and it does a lot of damage. She excels on damage. She does bring poison and sap, but her main role is just damage. If you guys do want damage dealer, yeah, she's not gonna be a meme anymore. And then the unit everybody's waiting for is Kais. This guy is also very, very strong character. He brings a lot more than just launch for your team. So he brings 100% critical buff, which is the same as Lily set. He also brings attack max brave aura. Skill 2 is his bread and butter that sets up the launch and also manipulates his own turn. And he gets HP plus in the air. The main thing I would say about Kais is you do need a secondary launcher to make him very strong. Otherwise, he's kind of he's not quite going to be a meta level unless you have that secondary launcher of some sort. So like I was saying earlier, Fusion has a great launch ability now, and she also batteries your party at the same time. So Fusion is a great partner for Kais this month. If you guys have Leo or Dark Knight Cecil, those are other great partners. But I would definitely recommend picking them up this month, even if you don't have current launchers anyway, because we will get more launchers in the future, such as Noctis when he gets his burst and LD weapon, Cloud when he gets his burst weapon. We're gonna get more launchers in the future, and this guy is still usable in current JP in their Lufenia. So I would definitely recommend picking up Kais. His partner is Zidane, who gets a lot more damage. His EX ability gets more hits. It also does 50% splash damage and launches your party. He does good damage. He's a decent pairing for Kais, and they're on the same banner. But for me, I prefer units that battery under launch, and Zidane doesn't have that ability. So Fusion, like I mentioned, or Dark Knight Cecil, they have good batteries on their launches. And then Leo just makes you get more launches. So Leo, even though he doesn't battery your party on the EX ability, he gets more launches. Energy gain does battery your party too. So that's why I recommend those units instead. But Zidane does dish out the damage. He gets some pretty good debuffs on the enemies. And he gets a Brave Plus that dumps bravery, and it's a free turn now, which is kind of cool. You get that for 1 turn after you use the EX ability. So it becomes very capable damage dealer. Alright guys, we are finally here, and I'm excited to unveil to you guys my June rankings, which I do have a new ranking system coming up, and let's find out what it is. The number 1 is meta. So instead of high priority, we just have straight up meta, and these are going to be Arciela, Kais, and Alphino. These units are going to be excelling in multiple areas, and they're going to be vital units for your characters and pretty much carry you to victory a lot of times. So Arciela, they all have attack max brave aura. They also bring something else to the party as well. Arciela has healing, she has brave regen for your party, she has HP silence, she dispels targets, So she's a vital character for a long time. Heist, he has 100% party critical buff, which is the same as Lily set. Actually very powerful. He also has turn manipulation with his skill 2, which is the bread and butter of his kit, as you guys know. And then all of his launch damage from the HP plus in the air is what really makes him shine and what makes him meta unit. The only thing about Heist I would say is that if you have him as the only launcher on the team, he's not quite meta level. You do need secondary launchers to make him a great unit. Otherwise, he's not going to be a step above, you know, what you're used to, and he's not really a plug and play unit. It's not super easy to play. That's the only thing I would say about Kais, is he does rely on team building the most out of these three. And then the last one we have is Alpha No, who is a great support unit. He has the highest attack auras currently with 85% attack aura, which is the same as Rosa actually. But he also brings a lot more damage per turn. He also brings healing for your party. So this guy's just a beast overall. And his longevity is actually probably the longest out of most of the characters in the game, because after you use HP plus, you have a free ability. So you can use 2 HP pluses per rotation and just keep using his skills forever. This guy would never run out of skills, but he'll also do a ton of damage. So these units cover quite a lot of roles on your team, and I give them the meta status. Alright, next up we have great utility. So these characters are going to be units that I think would be vital in certain scenarios. So we have Lena Fusion, Freya, and Kefka. These units could be potentially very key in certain fights. Lena, as you know, with the debuff evasion, but she also brings a lot of auras, healing, and brave battery. Fusion is really good because she has win in peril and enchant now, and that's going to be up all the time, unlike someone like Lulu. And then Fusion also does launches on her EX. He launches the enemy and she batteries your team at the same time, which is great pairing for Kais if you guys are going to go for Kais. And the other thing is that she sets up the other enemies to be launchable as well with the EX ability. So Fusion is great. She also delays with the AA ability. So she has a lot going for her kit. And her HP plus also batteries the party, like Waka does, for example. So she has a lot of utility in her kit. Freya has pretty much a whole package. She also brings a last stand aura now with her EX ability. And she has attack max brave aura. She also has brave battery. She also has HP regen and healing. So she brings the whole package. She also has decent damage as well, and her HP plus now does decent battery since it does more damage now. And then Kefka is a little bit questionable because he kind of only has one role, and that is just debuffing. But this guy has HP silence, which Arciela also has, and he can lower enemy stats, lower their defense, lower their speed, all of that good stuff. This guy can help you just neuter the enemies, and he actually does a pseudo dispeller because he applies all those buffs on the enemies. So I give him great utility, even though he pretty much only excels in one area. And then next up we have high damage. This category I don't rank as high as great utility because to me these units they're not going to be as vital or key in my opinion. The role is mainly just damage and not for utility. But some of them do bring utility. So we have Cloud Darkness, Yida, Zidane, and Cypher. So Zidane does bring debuffs. He also brings launching. Those are his utilities. Cypher has the one turn brave reduction where your team takes no brave damage. And that's really good too. But the problem with that is he needs to keep a 2-turn EX rotation. So you have to use 2 abilities, then use your EX. But the thing is, timing is a big deal for that, and you can't really upkeep that throughout the entire KS fight because he has no free abilities, so it's tough to have that longevity. Yida has poison and sap. Cloud Darkness does have delay, but her delay is consistent upon the EX ability and also the 5 stacks of skill 2, which is not always up. So for these units, they're mostly going to be your high damage units, and that's the primary role that they're going to fill. And in terms of damage potential, it's actually very close. I watched videos of Cloud Darkness and all of the others, and their damage per turn is actually kind of equal, I would say. It's tough to say which one is like the strongest, but they all have different types of damage too. So Cloud Darkness is the only magical one there. If you guys want more magic damage, you can go for her. And then the last one we have category is viable. So I had a tough time thinking about what to categorize this last one as and what to call it, but I just came up with viable in the end, and I'll tell you guys why. So we had Prompto, Prish, and Cyan. So initially I had Prompto in great utility because the guy does bring Brave. He has auras for your team. He also brings the taunt, the 2 turns of taunt and evasion now. But I found his damage per turn kind of lacking. Then the other thing is that his taunt skill doesn't have too many uses. He doesn't have free ability uses, so it's about 5 uses, but that's not enough for an entire chaos fight. So to me, it wouldn't fall in a great utility unless you brought something else to the table. And then as for Cyan, Cyan can actually dispel 3 buffs from the enemies and cleanse your entire party of debuffs every time he uses the EX ability, but it's on the slow recast speed, and dispelling 3 buffs isn't quite, enough for a dispeller role in my opinion. Sometimes enemies do get frame buffs, a lot of them, and 3 dispelling on a slow recast is not quite enough to fill that utility slot, I would say. But he does bring high damage or decent damage, and he also ignores defense, so I would give him the viable rating. And then for Prish, she's pretty much just damage. She does do Imperil, but doesn't bring anything else to the table, so out of this entire month, I would say Prish is probably the weakest EX+. But she's definitely still viable if you guys do want to use her. So those are my rankings for the month, and I want to thank the DCC podcast Discord for helping me out, and they actually disagreed. They wanted Cyan to be great utility, but like I said, I've given you my reasons. I don't think dispelling 3 buffs is enough, but they did help me out, and so I had to reorganize my list, and this is what I came up with. So I do want to thank them. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully this video does help you out in the coming month, which is going to be a crazy one. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.